I've done several interviews with the members of Slipknot over the years, but this was my first sit down with the co-founder, Shawn Crahan, aka Clown, with no mask in his basement in Des Moines. And after traveling to Iowa and seeing the snow-swept fields and the bleakness of that environment, it began to make perfect sense why Slipknot sounds the way they do. Slate is up.
Speeding.
Okay, Shawn Crahan, take one. Yeah, first question, just a general one to get started. What was the main philosophy behind creating Slipknot?
We could spend months and months and months going into everything that led up to the creation of, one of the greatest bands ever. But I'll give you a quick scenario. I basically was married with 2 children and had a welding job. I would have to be at work at about 5:30 in the morning, which means I would have to leave at 4:30 because I like to be early. So I'd find myself falling asleep on the road on the way back, actually down in the ditch and coming back, and I started to think to myself that, that this is not how I wanted to live. So I started making a lot of comp tapes, a lot of comp CDs to listen to kind of refresh my mind. I can remember a day that my wife had come out of my house and let me know that one of my uncles had been murdered, and it was a gang initiation kind of thing, and it was actually on America's Most Wanted. And they never found the killers because it was a random, quick thing that happened. I was thinking how short life is and how random life is, and that you really don't know what life is going to throw you. So it kind of was a parallel theme of me falling asleep in the car while having 2 children and a wife. And I can remember cleaning up my shop that day, and my wife was sitting on the back porch, and I remember walking up to her and saying that I was going to get back into music because I had felt that I could reach the most amount of people at once with the message that I felt that I was given in this world to give. And I actually remember telling her that, she was like, okay, cool, you're gonna be in a band, you're gonna jam, you still gotta be here to put the kids to bed and help feed and do these kinds of things. And I was like, you don't understand, I'm gonna make the biggest band in the world. I'm gonna focus all my energy, and I'm going to tighten up every loose end, from the way we tie our shoes, to the way we play, to the way we look, to the way we act, to the way we talk, to the way we walk into a venue. I'm gonna tighten it all up, and it's not gonna fail, and it's gonna be noticed, and if it's not noticed, I'm gonna kick the door in.
So what was the message?
That's a really good question. I grew up, I want to say this with as much love as that I can. I grew up in an alcoholic family, and a lot of it was kept from me until a later age. I had noticed a lot of it instinctively, so I had built up a lot of rage and a lot of anger that I was unaware of, because people weren't taking the time to explain what I was noticing. So the message was a rooted evil almost of anger. And when I said that I wanted to reach as many people that I could, I wanted to reach the people that I felt maybe had similar feelings to me, because I was never told what was going on. And I had felt that maybe by giving my message, I might meet people that had similar feelings or understandings on how I felt, and maybe through that we could connect. And the overall goal was to get some sort of salvation for myself.
Why did Slipknot become this great vehicle to express the rage and the anger and the sense of isolation and all the things you've been talking about? You were creating something more than just a band.
We have a song called Surfacing, and there's a line in that song that says, "Don't ever judge me." And if there was anything that I thought had to be on my gravestone, or that I felt that we preached and that we wanted people to know, it would be that statement. So what happened when we started, our merchandising became an anomaly. And these kids would buy everything. You know, we had t-shirts that said "fuck it all" on it. And these kids would buy these t-shirts and they would go to school. And they would sit in class, and there wouldn't be one or two in class. There'd be 5 or 6. So all the people that kind of turned their backs on these kids, they knew 1 or 2 of them, but they didn't know these other 2 felt the same way. So these other kids had to take a good look at who these kids were. And now all of a sudden these kids had a purpose. I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of kids that would say that they would wear the same t-shirt every day in school for the entire year, have their mom wash that t-shirt every night so they could wear that statement, "Fuck it all, don't ever judge me." And these are the kids that we represent, and that's why we are a culture.
What was the thinking behind the term maggots?
I came up with wearing the mask because I didn't want people to see my real pain. I didn't want to be judged on, hey, he wears glasses. This week he has a goatee. This week he has his hair slicked back. I didn't want all that. I wanted to share my own fear behind the mask. So that way you, the fan, could adjust to the symbolism of what I represented. To get back to what you're saying, I noticed very early within my own pain, when I was able to take the time to look through my own eye holes and watch these kids, the kids that were the kids that I wanted to connect with. These were the children that I was waiting to meet. These were the kids that felt like I felt. These were my people. And I would notice the way they would move. And I would notice the way that they would get so tight that someone would pop up above and then crowd surf. And if you've ever watched maggots eat something like a deer, they eat straight up and down like this. They're vertical, all right? And they eat going down, so they're eating the meat going down. And they're packed in, just like our fans. And when a maggot would have enough to eat and maybe want to take a break, he would dislodge himself or whatever, you know, let go, and he would fall and he would find himself on top, and then it would roll across the rest, and then the pack would fill in the gap. So it was instantaneous thought in my mind that our kids are like maggots. They're feeding off of us. They might not be feeding off of our death, but they're feeding off of our disgusting way of thinking, our violent nature, our destructive, almost self-destructive nature. But it goes deeper than that. I knew from a very early time, the first record, after dubbing all the kids maggots, there was a bigger picture. I was hoping through my career, through all this anger, through all this violence, through all this hurt, through all this sadness, that I was going to get salvation for myself, that I was going to have a better awareness on oneself, that one day I was going to be okay. Now, if you know anything about a maggot, you know that a maggot turns into a fly. And a fly grows wings, something that humans don't have. And the fly is able to fly anywhere it wants to go. It can leave the death and fly to a flower, fly anywhere it wants, to a place of beauty, to a place of peace, to a place so far from where it had been rooted. And that's what I wanted. So by the third album, I was starting to interject pictures of flies. Like if you look at the third album and you open up the booklet, there's a picture of me standing there like this, going like this. And if you look very closely, there are flies that I am juggling. They're very transparent and they're hard to see because it's just not a blatant philosophy I want to give. But that's what I want. And that's what I've been trying to do this whole time, was to find my own salvation through my own anger.
That's great. Awesome,
Cool,
Shawn.
man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming to Des Moines, and I think it's awesome you're getting out of Des Moines on the same day. That's traditional.
We hate to be so fucking typical, but
No.
that's just the way it is.
It's part of the molecular makeup of what we are, because when people hear Des Moines, Iowa, they think Slipknot, but then they think, let's get the fuck out of here. And I'll tell you what, you're doing the right thing.